Hello and welcome everyone to a new video on Alex's Tracks. In today's discussion, we'll be looking into one of the backbones of the Soviet Army of World War II, a tank that took part in the defense of the motherland, none other than the KV-1. Early World War II went pretty well for the Soviets. Working on a non-aggression agreement signed with Germany, the nation was able to invade eastern Poland, Finland, and the Baltic states without the need to worry about German forces. However, that all changed when Germany broke the agreement and attacked the Soviet Union with the Axis. With powerful machines, tactics, and strong armed forces, they were able to lay waste over the Soviets. That being said, the Soviet Union weren't without a few tricks up their sleeves. Much to Germany's surprise, the Soviet tanks were able to fight off the attack. The Soviets had several types of tanks capable of defending themselves, and one of which was a KV tank. The KV was short for Klement Voroshilov and was named after the Soviet defense commissar and politician of the same name. His story began following the disappointment of the T-35 tank. At the time, the T-35 had issues with armor protection, and a replacement is needed for something with better survivability. Several competing designs were offered, and three were brought to the prototype stages. They were the SMK, the T-100, and the KV tanks. All the tanks boasted heavy armor, and both the T-100 and the SMK featured multiple turrets. During the Winter War with Finland, all the tanks were sent to be tested in combat. From it, the KV outperformed both the SMK and the T-100 thanks to its survivability. From then on, production of the tank commenced. The KV's main strong point lied with its armor. It's the reason why the Germans were so caught off guard during the initial invasions against the Soviets. The KV has up to 3.5 inches of armor at the front of the tank, 3 inches on the sides, and 2.8 inches on the rear. This strong armor allowed the tank to deflect most of the incoming fire, as there were only a few German guns available at the time that can actually inflict proper damage. The KV also benefited from having good firepower. The 1939 model featured the 76mm L11 tank gun. An upgrade with the 1940 model then saw the use of the F-32 gun. Then came the 1941 model upgrade with the long-barreled Zis-5 gun. These guns proved capable of dealing with the onslaught of German tanks at the time, with its decent firing rate and great penetration. Unfortunately, all this great armor and gun does come at the cost of mobility. The tank was heavy, measuring in at up to 45 tons due to its thick armor. Alongside that, the tank used a Model V2 V12 diesel engine that outputs up to 600 horsepower. This wasn't really good enough for the tank, and with minimal upgrades to the engine, the tank suffered from a lack of mobility. This is made even worse with the tank's difficulty to steer, an unreliable transmission, and a suspension that's subject to high stress. This tank definitely won't be moving anywhere far and fast. As the tank entered service in 1939, the tank has proved itself to be a good asset to the Soviets. Boasting strong all-round armor at the time and a rather decent gun, this tank was able to face off with a lot of its adversaries. These tanks were put to the test when the main German forces began pouring into Soviet territory. With the initiation of Operation Barbarossa, German armor began charging in, where they faced off against the Soviet tanks like the KV. The Battle of Vezenai is the KV's first battles against the Germans, and it gave them a run for their money. While the Germans initially thought of Soviet tanks to be old-fashioned and obsolete, tanks like the KV proved them wrong, being able to slow down their advances. Unfortunately, the Germans still had the upper hand in strength and were able to push the Soviets. The KVs, while strong in key areas, suffered heavily in many others. As mentioned previously, KVs were not the easiest to drive. These slow, lumbering beasts made them easy to be overrun. Its own weight not only inhibited its speed, it even made certain roads and bridges virtually impassable for them. It even lost its main advantage of strong armor as the war progressed. While early German tanks were incapable of damaging the KVs, mid to late war tanks like the Tiger were more than capable of doing so. That being said, the KV has seen a rather proactive career throughout World War II, having undergone through numerous upgrades to satisfy the needs for the war. From the feared KV-2 to the speedier KV-1S, the tank has seen many iterations of itself. However, the tank was quickly outclassed and outperformed by the more reliable T-34, although it did see one last contribution for the war effort, that being as a base of development for the well-known IS tank. All in all, the KVs were the results of the Soviets' needs for strong armor on the battlefield. It did its job quite well in the early parts of the war, but as time progressed, it soon fell out of favor, with other tanks filling its role better. But what do you think? Was the KV a good tank? Let us know in the comments below. With that, thank you very much for watching today's video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and do consider subscribing for more content. If you would like me to cover any particular tank of interest, do let us know in the comments. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Alex signing out.